ultimate quality for our clients. TIPA is based on two major components. So we're talking about ITIL first, so ITIL Best Practices Framework, and we're talking about as well the ISO IEC 15504 standard. The 15504 standard is a standard that has been developed specifically for how to conduct process maturity assessment. This list of standards, because there's multiple within the series of 15504, guides organization on how to conduct assessments, how to train people that are doing assessments, what they should have as skills and competencies, how we should rate processes and come up to a value that will be assigned to a single process and determine the maturity level, all the way to determining the whole capability of the organization, so the full subset of processes that are included there. So TIPA is at this point internationally recognized as a framework that will allow you as an assessor or a lead assessor, if you're in charge of the project, to conduct maturity assessments and be able to determine the level of maturity of the processes that are in scope, and define clearly the gaps that exist between the present situation in your organization or your client organization and our benchmark, which is the ITIL Best Practice Framework. So once we do identify this gap, what will happen is we will be in a position now to draw conclusions and identify clearly some important steps to improve the processes that are in place. So two contexts here on how you use or how you can use assessment results. First one from a process improvement perspective, so internal to the organization, and really again to identify that gap that exists at one point. So what we're going to do there is identify our strengths, our weaknesses. We'll be identifying our opportunities that we have that we can easily put in place and drive this towards what we know in the ITIL context as quick wins, where we can quickly do some improvement and gain in a short-term period. And as well the threats, so things that could at one point or another be undermining our operations. And this, again, always to be able to compare to what we have right now, what we had in the past as a performance, and advance and keep improving to satisfy the needs of our clients. The other aspect is capability determination. From this perspective, it could be internal or external. If we're a large organization and multiple sites, global footprint on the planet, we may want to determine capabilities of, i.e., a part of the organization that just joined in, maybe from a merger or something. And if we're at a certain level of maturity, we want to make sure that we could compare them, assess them, and compare with what we are at the level that we are, and make sure that we adjust their level so that they're in line with what we have. From an external perspective, it could be with our suppliers. So we have suppliers that we use to do our work and that supplement our operations so that we could provide our services or products. And we want to make sure that when we do sign contracts with these suppliers, that they are at a right level of maturity as well, and that they would be compatible with our level of efficiency within our operations. So these are the two contexts where you would do or conduct an assessment and use the results of it. So there are many benefits for organizations to assess the processes. I did touch overly the major benefit is that we will increase the quality of our products and our services, and we will contribute then to remain competitive with regards to our competitors, and maintain our client footprint, and even increase it, as if they are satisfied, we are going to provide a good image, and we will become a better provider. Other benefits, as you could see here, obviously, if we are continuously optimizing our processes, we are maintaining our operation very efficient, and we're working more efficiently. So we are going to improve our return on investment. So anything that we do will be linked to business needs that we've identified and confirmed during the assessment, and would be linked to specific activities that needs to be improved in order to improve the quality of our services, and not less, not more. So we are going to really do the optimal activities there to maintain that level of quality, so a better return on investment. There's the aspect of also maintaining a good level of satisfaction from our employees. Doing an assessment as such will engage the employees as you go through the processes. They will be able to be reminded of all those activities that should be done, and that in some cases will not be potentially done, but that will eventually be once we improve the processes. So these employees will be constantly reminded of the best practices and what they should be doing, hence engaging them and getting them really happy to be part of the team and working efficiently. They will be heard, or feel that they're really heard by the organization, and that activities are done there to correct situations that needs to be corrected. And again, the third point here, to maintain the buy-in to critical IT transformation initiatives. Doing an assessment as such with that more rigid assessment will ensure that we do make improvement where it really needs, and that will help for the buy-in from upper management in getting the monies and the resources that are required so that we could move forward with the modifications that are required. Another aspect is that we are going to, by doing such, standardizing our processes in part or a major part with ITIL best practices, by continuously improving and getting more aligned with these processes. So then further aligning us with other organizations that we may work with that also are using these best practices. From a benchmarking perspective, using a method such as TIPA that is based on ISO standard 15504 allows us as well to be more compatible to other organizations that are also using this method, and then allow then at this point a benchmarking. So if we are in a certain domain of operation, we will be able to compare our readings with other organizations that have done as well maturity assessments, and have access to data there that could show us how we stand compared to the top performers or the mid performers, and help us again to with our strategy from our own organization to go higher or maintain the position that we have. So quite a lot of good benefits there. This slide here shows you one big picture of what happened when we are working with TIPA. So the major activities here, and what we have as well as support from the methodology to help us to evolve during these different stages of a process assessment. So going from the left to right, we see the 6 boxes there. So first one, the definition phase. So that's the first one of the 6 phases of a TIPA project. And that's where we are going to really look at the processes that we have in place and confirming which one needs to be assessed. We will look at the level of maturity for these processes that is required in the future. and thus allowing us to determine the level of maturity that we need to assess them up to. At the top and the bottom, top you have inputs and we have outputs in the bottom. These inputs are tools that we will be using in order to work with each of the activities within each of the phases. The outputs are what we will be producing per se. So in the definition phase, we have the assessment proposal that is there with our client or internal to our organization. Once we do these activities within that phase, we'll be producing a workload estimation. So we'll have a good idea of what will be the effort for the project of assessment, as well as a clear scope definition. And that drives us to the second phase, the preparation phase, where we'll dig into more details in the organization and discover the context a bit more in detail so that we could brief our assessor team and make sure that they're all understanding the same way the organization and the project that we have to do, and then start the assessment planning. So fine-tuning of any of the tools that comes with TIPA to facilitate the conducting of the assessment. And as the first phase, you could see the input and output that comes up out of this phase. The third phase is what most organizations know about a maturity assessment. That's the phase of assessment itself. And unfortunately, in many cases, the first two phases are skipped or very lightly done. And TIPA is just not different at all than any project. When we do a project, there is a definition phase and a preparation phase that needs to be done. That planning is critical to the success of the project itself. And it's the same thing here. So before we get to the assessment, that planning there must be done correctly. And then that would allow us to go through the assessment, so conducting the interviews, collecting all the documents that are required, and really assessing the processes, rating the processes that are in scope, and come up with maturity levels for these processes. So again, process definitions, so guides of each of the processes that we have to assess. That's our benchmark measure. The questionnaires that will guide us when we do the assessment so that we maintain the cap and cover all of what needs to be covered. And then the interview support material that goes with that. Once we've done the assessment phase, so we have collected all the information, all the findings that we need to have, then we could go to the next phase, which is the analysis of that data. And that is where we will conduct the SWOT analysis. SWOT, which stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the four criteria that I mentioned that we will clearly identify when we do an assessment. And these aspects will be what will help us or allow us to clearly identify the improvement recommendations. So when we get to that point, we had collected all the contextual information of the organization. We know the vision and where they want to be in the future. We've assessed the processes that are in place, so we have a good picture of what's there. We have our process definition out of TIPA, and then we can draw the gap very clearly and then concentrate on the improvements that are critical for bringing the organization where they have decided that they need to be in the future. The next phase is the result presentation. So once we've collected all that, we've drawn all the conclusions, naturally, we are ready to present it to the client, the sponsors, or all the stakeholders. And that is obviously a critical part of the organization. If we do all that work and this is never communicated, nothing's going to happen. So we need to make sure that that information is communicated properly to the organization, to the right people, and that that will then ensure that actions can be taken in order to improve those processes. So that will be formed out of presentations and as well as a form of a report, a complete report where all the information and all the details will be included. The last phase is the closure phase, and that is where, just like any project, following good practice of project management, we will look at ensuring that we did do what our sponsors required us to do, that they got the deliverables that they were expecting, and that they're satisfied. And then we could learn out of this if there was any issues. So we want to do the lessons learned internal to our team, the assessment team, and make sure that we ourselves improve our own process and do even better next time that we conduct an assessment. So this is really TIPA at a glance. And you could see with these inputs and outputs, all of the central phases here, the 6 phases, are supported by all of those tools that exist within a toolkit in TIPA. And that is what really help you to be able to do it more efficiently. And I'm talking about the assessment, and do it thoroughly as well, with making sure that you do all of what is required. This slide here shows you the overview of those TIPA tools and how they are grouped or segregated. So if we start on the upper right side with the or the top side here, the TIPA process assessment model. I mentioned on the previous slide the process definition. But these process definitions are all included in what we call a process assessment model, the PAM, that is built within TIPA. This PAM has been built out of 2 components: a process reference model, which is really all the requirements of ITIL books, the 5 life cycles that have been extracted and built into a requirement, a reference model. And secondly, the guidance for doing or conducting maturity assessments that comes from ISO IEC 15504. So those 2 merged together form the PAM, which is our guidance, our benchmark. And then if we go to the right, we have the project management tool sets. So our estimation tool, the service offer tool, our template that we can use in order to facilitate the first engagement with our stakeholders, method checklist. As we move forward in the assessment, we have to have something to guide us as to make sure that we do all activities that are required at each of and every one of these phases, so that we maintain a good quality level while doing this process assessment. Checklist for the assessment coordinator. So again, checklist there specifically for the coordinators that we will have during the assessment. So the person that will really look at making sure we have rooms for the meetings, making sure that the document that needs to be collected are provided to the right people, and all that. The first checklist is really for the TIPA lead assessor, so the assessor team itself. And then different checklists, as you could see there. I'll skip to read them all to you because of time that we have here to cover the material. In the training of this, we cover all of these tools in great details and get people to practice with these tools and use them thoroughly as well. The next important part of the toolkit is the questionnaires, which are our guide when we do conduct the assessment. So for each process that are in scope of ITIL, so the 26 processes, we have a questionnaire in the toolset of TIPA that will help us to maintain the cap while we do an assessment of a specific process. Then process rating toolsets, process rating sheets, overall profile analysis template there in order to rate those processes and be able to show the results as well. And on the left side, if we keep going with those bubbles, the assessment report template. So this exists within the toolkit, already pre-populated with a lot of basic information and guidance built into it. All of these templates have guidance built into it so that you could really easily know what information needs to be there and then put it in place and allow you overall to maintain a consistent level of quality when you conduct information. The last part is all the aspect of presentation templates of TIPA. So presentation templates from the beginning of the assessment, so the ones that you need to introduce TIPA to the stakeholders, different players, the kickoff meeting presentations, and as well the final presentation when we present the final results of the assessment. So quite extensive support that comes with TIPA in order to ensure that when we do one assessment today and we redo it in a year, that we could do it with consistency, and that will translate to have a consistency within these results as well. So the assessment is conducted by humans. So we have that human factor there that could cause some slight differences between one time to another time, but with guidance and tools like this, we are ensuring to maintain these differences as small as possible. This is a quick little representation here of how it will be represented in one of those tools. So this shows here how the maturity assessment of 5 processes here, incident, change, release, config, and problem, will be depicted once we've assessed them. You could see that the maturity assessment is evaluated on 5 levels, 6 if we consider a level 0 that is inexistent or no maturity at all, but rated really on 5 levels, 1 to 5. Each of these levels, as you could see, I've mentioned just under it. So level 1, we could see process performance. This is the one attribute that we're evaluating for level 1. Level 2 has 2 attributes, and the same for the subsequent levels. So level 2, performance management and work product management. These are the 2 attributes that we will be assessing to determine if an organization is at level 2 or not. And then level 3 and 4 and 5 with each one of their attributes as well. These attributes have sub-attributes or criteria that are all defined in TIPA that we need to assess as an assessor. So all of this is already there, well documented, and we could follow this guideline to be able to, again, assess very much with consistency between one assessment to another. And then on the bars with the color there, you could see the color coding in the legend, 4 levels for each single attribute that we will determine, from not met, red box, to partially met, going through largely met, and eventually to fully met. And that is the basic information that will help us to drive us to eventually be able to determine that, well, incident management process is at a level 2 of maturity, and that level 1 has been achieved for problem management, as an example. Now, I won't go in detail on how we determine this because we would have to be here for the whole day, but these identification here of levels, those 4 levels of each of these attributes, will, as I mentioned, help us to determine this based again on rationals and different types of corrugation of information and small calculations that we do within the method of TIPA to come up with the maturity level. So as additional information here, when we talk about process performance, we talk about the process aspect of the activities that we have, and that comes out directly from ITIL best practices. When we're talking about level 2, 3, 4, and 5, as you read those titles, you could see that they're a little bit more generic, and these come from ISO 15504. So these are standardized criteria or attributes of any process that should be in place at each of these levels. And these are also criteria that we find when we're in ITIL best practices, but there's just a little bit more definition there coming from the ISO standard. So that being said here, I would like to open a small parenthesis. That means that TIPA being built on for assessing specifically processes that have been defined based on ITIL is one thing, but you have other methodologies as well that exist, i.e. The one that is produced right now by COBIT in their present version that also uses ISO 15504. So that means that if you're going to conduct a maturity assessment with COBIT, it would be very similar. I would say about 75% of the logic behind the methodology is exactly the same as TIPA because it uses the same standard. So make it a lot easier for organizations that provide services to use them both. The difference would lie as at the first level, where in fact in the COBIT methodology, we will assess the level of the processes based on the COBIT descriptions of the processes that are part of that method. So great advantages here to use methods like this that are based on an ISO standard agreed globally around the planet. So as we go to the different level of certifications, we have two levels, a first level of TIPA assessor for ITIL and a second level, which is the TIPA lead assessor. So the assessor is really the person that will conduct the assessments, the interviews, do all the ratings, do as well the analysis, the SWOT analysis, and draw the conclusions for each of the process that they're responsible for. The lead assessor is the person that will oversee the overall project and ensure the proper management of the activities that needs to be done so that we get to the high level of quality of results from that assessment. So these are the two levels that are covered within the TIPA framework. So first step obviously is to take the class. We take first the class of the assessor, so that we will go through all the definition of the 6 phases for an assessor so that they fully understand what they're going to do and what they're required to do and how they should be doing it using the tools that comes from the kit. It's a 3-day class, either classroom setup or virtual classroom. Prerequisite, as you could see here, an ITIL foundation at the minimum. And then following this, a person that has enough experience in project management, that has potentially conducted some assessment in the past and has a little bit more understanding of ITIL, could take the lead assessor course. So a 2-day course presented in the same format as the other course, and where we will then concentrate on the aspect of the methodology of TIPA where the lead assessor needs to operate within. So really the first 2 phases in great details and all the other phases as well to drill into all the tools and how to best use these tools in support of the assessment. So once you get to pass the exams for these courses, the certificates are awarded and then you become certified. The exams are very similar to what we know of ITIL intermediate level exams, closed book. It's a scenario based, and there's 8 questions, and it's a gradient scored question. So a best mark, less good, and then again, one that is even less than the second best, and then one that is a distractor. So very similar to what people from the ITIL background are used to see. And then finally, once this has been conducted, the people are become parts of a membership that allows them to be able to show that they have followed the certification and they are fully skilled to do and conduct the TIPA assessment. So this membership allows clients or people to see that they are dealing with someone that will follow the methodology appropriately and with the maximum, again, quality. These people, when they become a professional member of TIPA, being certified at each of those 2 levels, are then identified on the TIPA website, and that can be validated. So at this point, if you were to go to tipaonline.org, you would see all the people that have been certified at these 2 levels. So this is really the offering there. As we saw, the TIPA method itself with all the toolkit that comes with it, the training, specialized training that ensure that people using the method are using it to the best way that they should, the licensing of the material itself, and then licensing of the organization that provides the training, and then the membership as well, to enable people to confirm that they are certified, and also enable organizations to build that capability there of process assessment. So at this point, TIPA belongs really to one organization that created it. It's Tudor, a research center in Luxembourg, and ITpreneurs has been chosen in 2011 to be the only globally authorized provider of this methodology. So managing all aspects of the toolkit itself, the training, and the licensing of memberships. I touched slightly the licensing before, so I mentioned that there are the professional certification, but there's licensing to be able to use and operate within TIPA. You could see here the 3 different licenses. So a consulting use license, where really you're a company that offers services to clients and you want to operate with a TIPA as to make profit. So you would have that kind of license that you would purchase. There's the single product use license that would be used by companies that are developing software solutions and they would like to use the TIPA methodology to further define their software solution and align with ITIL as it's defined in TIPA and mostly with TIPA. And then also a Toolbox license for companies that are looking to conduct internal process assessment. So you don't want to promote that openly on the market, but you want to do it only for your own organizations. So quite flexible again, with different pricing model for each one of these. So professional membership that I mentioned, 2 levels, one for the assessors and one for the lead assessor. So 2 different levels, 2 different levels of cost as well associated with them. Lower cost for an assessor, a little bit higher cost for a lead assessor, again, to try to make that as optimal as possible for organizations so that they have to acquire only what they really need to have. Success stories here for some organizations. TIPA exists since close to 10 years in Europe, and 2 years ago in 2011 got globally distributed. Dimension Data, one major organization there with a global footprint on the planet, used TIPA way back at the beginning to evaluate their processes and benchmark on how they work with respect to other companies, and they use TIPA since then to conduct maturity assessments for all of their clients. Fujitsu, also a large provider, I've decided them to use it internally, mostly up to this point, to really fine-tune all of their processes and contribute to maintain their ISO 20000 certification. So by doing those assessments and continuously improving their processes, they contribute to maintain their certification and indirectly contribute to confirm to their clients that they're of high quality. And then other organizations here, Cornell University, KVH in Japan. In Canada, we have a research center for national defense that have had a TIPA assessment, and another organization as well. We have another one upcoming. There's been about 25 and going still in the US since last year. So quite good momentum with the methodology. So here, just to summarize the benefits of TIPA for a service and solution provider, I did touch that with the pricing structure there that has been defined to make sure that you could get the right level of what you need. So if you need to the level of only assessors and internal to your organization, there's a small cost associated with it. And if you need to go further, then there'll be more cost, but commensurate with what you can come out of this investment. So it's a turnkey solution. Once you've gone through the process of training your people, getting the toolkit and being certified, you're ready to go and you're ready to perform with this methodology. A small example here on the ROI quickly. I'm running out of time a bit. If you bear with me a couple more minutes, we could finish this. It shows here an investment or a short example using euro dollars here of an investment you may have to do. So this one is based on approximately 15,490 euros that invested, that goes with the training membership fees, opportunity cost, licenses, and assessment costs for fees for 5 assessments. So on that example, there was just under 16,000 euro, and potentially on 5 assessments and assessed revenues of 100,000 euros, well, you get a return on investment of close to 85,000 euro. So the case is pretty strong, as it is a small investment to make to do better if you're in the business of conducting assessments from a profit perspective, as well as even from a return on investment internal to your own operation. So some more benefits here. Well, I think I've covered them as I discussed the presentation. The SWOT analysis, so very standardized method to do the assessment. Improve capability of your team using that method, again, to try to keep them doing it the right way and consistently over time. A very competitive pricing structure for both training, certification, licensing, and membership to, again, ensure that we maintain a level of credibility for the organizations embarking, and from regards to the clients that will be receiving these services. So when an assessment is done, the client that has the assessment conducted will receive a certificate that will confirm that the assessment was done following the guidelines of TIPA. So there's a quality seal there that is something that will be very valuable for your clients. This assessment, from the provider perspective, will be done by experts at ITpreneurs and confirm that this is or was done properly, and then it's issued to the client. So that's a value-added proposition there from this methodology. Upcoming program courses here in your area. 2 courses that are planned back to back, so in a combo model in the month of June from the 10th to the 14th. So this course will be held in Delhi. So it'll be a physical class. I will be the teacher, the trainer for this class. And well, we hope to see you there. There are information on the ITpreneur website. If you are interested to more information, you could go to tipaonline.org or the ITpreneurs website as well and get further information on both TIPA and the upcoming courses. So this is the phone number you could reach the team, the ITpreneur team there, and get more information, and the email as well that you could also use if you want to quickly reach them. And finally, some facts here. 300 worldwide partners of ITpreneurs in 80 countries. 100,000 IT professionals educated to the inception since 2001. More than 100 staff members located on 6 continents. So a great support from the organization, and assurance that this is not going to be less good tomorrow, but more, better and better, and the support will be there. So embarking to any of these programs, you are convinced that you're embarking into something that is strong and has strong foundation and is stable and will remain. So you could follow more details directly at itpreneurs.com or on Twitter as it's identified on the screen here. We surely hope that this presentation was of use and that it informed you enough. It is difficult to keep that in a short period of time like this. There is a lot that you could see, that you will see if you come to this training session, and a lot that you will be able to use once you can operate with it. So on that note, we could take some questions here for the remaining time until that we have until 5:30. Please write your questions, and either myself or JD will be able to answer the best that we can, so that you're fully informed with TIPA itself as the methodology, or the next venue in Delhi that is upcoming at the beginning of June.